killers in the United States. And like, luckily I found, what's his name? Yeah, luckily I found Mickey, and he just needed a bit of guidance. And Sydney comes out with, yeah, like only a mother could do. And it's like, yes. Yeah. I mean, and that's another wonderful callback, not only to the first Scream, but also we have that like a little bit of, not foreshadowing, but a hint at the Mrs. Voorhees line, because you get a nice like hat tip towards the Jason storyline of the first Friday the 13th.
And it's a fun line because it seems like almost a non sequitur when he says that Hallie could be the killer because Mrs. Voorhees, like, and it's a weird, like, they're not exactly equal, but in the context of the movie and who the killer is, it makes sense. And it's a fun little, like, weird suggestion that doesn't seem like it makes sense at the time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. I'm stoned, so
I'm working on it.
And then now we have seen Dewey's unfortunate demise, and then
believed to be unfortunate demise.
As far as we know, his demise. And Gale Weathers' very real, very sad reaction to it.
Oh yeah, because they're, again, they're on campus. So they're running through the hallways, and they were near like this, they were on the stage and everything. And they're running through what looks like an audio section of the campus.
Recording studio, because the glass is soundproof and there's the foam all around her.
Yes.
Which is a cool scene and a neat effect.
Very neat effect, because you get to see when they do, show Dewey getting stabbed, they're on opposite sides of soundproof glass. So you see Gale having a very, honest reaction, because she was hiding from Ghostface. She thought that he was chasing her, which he was, but she didn't know that Dewey was also right behind her, both physically and metaphorically.
I really like the brutality of the police officer deaths in this scene, because it really ramps up the violence. Like, these are full on like bludgeon and beat and stab and dismember. So it's the full fucking course of slasher murder.
Yeah. A lot of slit throats, a lot of, but not like arterial spraying. I think it's just a lot of like gushing, and it's very, it's not like a bright red blood like we see in our older kind of 80s horror movies, where it's just like almost like a pinkish hue red. This is more definitely going more towards
like it feels real.
Yeah, it's more realistic. Yeah. It's going for the more like darker kind of gushing, more viscous rather than kind of watery feel.
And a lot of times, like with Michael and the new Leatherface and Jason and a lot of later movies, they made them very superhuman strength. You don't get that vibe from Leatherface. It feels like a real Ghostface. He feels like a legit human
person. Yes.
It's a brutal version of it.
Yes. Correct. And I'm so glad that you pointed that out, because I think that that's one of my all-time favorite things about the Ghostface killer or killers, is that like when Ghostface falls down and like you hear Ghostface grunt and like you see him get knocked out and you see him like a lot of times, it might be a fake out or something, but like you do see him trip and fall. It's and you do hear like one movie, the mask comes off and it says, God, it's hard to see in that thing. So of course, it's going to be, it does feel very believable. I will say this is probably my most bothersome scene in this movie. So right now, after the police were killed and everything, the car, Ghostface got into the police car where Hallie and Sydney were stuck in the back seat, because obviously in a cop car you can't open the back doors. That's the whole point. this whole sequence is just very annoying to me because it's the one time I'm like, God, come on, Sydney, you could have ended it right there. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like there were multiple ideas for weapons around you, and I feel like knowing how smart they make Sydney out to be and everything, like she could have just stabbed them right there. You know what I mean? Like, and I like that I do appreciate that her first instinct was to unmask the killer. Because like, of course, you unmask him, everything's over. You can just kind of, like, oh, hey, it's this person. Cool. You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of where the movie ends, of course. This whole sequence to me is where Ghostface is knocked out in the front seat. So Sydney and Hallie have to climb over the killer to get out of the car.
Tense because you keep expecting the killer to like wake up and do something.
Oh yeah.
I think doing it twice is a little bit of overkill.
That's what, like, this is the part for me that just feels over the top a little.
Although I do like when when Hallie comments on the one officer's death, where she says right through his eye.
Yeah, Hallie's great. Yeah, this is just, like right here, Sydney could have stopped and said, and just like taken the mask off. There were so many ideas for weapons around her that literally she could have just taken the mask off and stabbed the person in it. You know what I mean? Like that to me feels more Sydney Prescott than the way that played out. Of course, yeah.
So she does
want to go back.
I want to know.
Yeah.
I want to go back.
Yeah.
And she defends it by saying, if I know who it is, it's over. So that way she doesn't have to do the killing because she doesn't want to kill. She is not a killer at heart.
No, she's killing to survive. She's killing to save her life and save the lives of the people who she loves and who are around her. Yeah. So no,
I agree that she could have stopped earlier on and pulled it off, but then we wouldn't have Hallie's death here.
Yeah, and that is a bummer.
It's got a body count.
It does have a high body count. It really does. If there was anything you asked me on Monday, if I could have, what would I have signed by Neve Campbell and Skeet Ulrich and Matthew Lillard? And I thought about it and I was like, I would 100% have them sign a Scream mask. Like I would buy a Scream mask and have them sign it because all three of them have worn it. Sydney being the last one to wear it in the first one, and killing Billy Loomis and stabbing him with the umbrella. So I thought that would be a very fitting thing to have them sign. Now I love that part we had just seen where Gale Weathers, we're cut back to Gale, and she's trying to get out of the school to go call the police. She runs into Cotton for all, like, what the fuck is Cotton doing there? Runs into Cotton, he's got blood on his hands. He's like, oh, it's Dewey. I was trying to help him. I found him, and so Gale Weathers like, holy shit, you're the killer, runs outside. And who do we see? Debbie Salt. Why is Debbie Salt there? Gale Weathers runs up to the phone and is like, get me the police. The killer, it's Cotton fucking Weary. And so then we're cut back to
from Courtney Cox.
Oh yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. And so then we cut back to Sydney and they're right back in the auditorium. This fight scene that we're going to see between Mrs. Loomis and Sydney is so brilliant to me. This is Sydney. I think I think it really makes up for not stabbing him in the car, because once she starts fighting with Mrs. Loomis and she's able to like get away, bitch starts wrecking up the stage props and everything, trying to throw off and distract Mrs. Loomis and scare her and stuff, leading Sydney to overtake her and win. And I think it's one of the coolest climaxes of a horror movie.
Yeah, this is a great end scene.
Yeah.
I really, really like the killers in this movie. I think.
Yeah. This is this scene where we're about to see Mickey come on screen and he talks about Derek because right now we see Derek all tied up because Derek had been caught by his fraternity brothers and he was being punished by the fraternity because he gave his letters to Sydney, which apparently in Greek life you're never supposed to do. Yeah. You're not supposed to give your letters to a boy. You're not supposed to give your letters to a girl, I guess. So,
so I remember my uncle Mark, who is the one that I have his initials tattooed on me. When he was in college, he was in a fraternity and he had a hat. And because I wanted all the cool things that he had, I was like, oh, can I wear your hat? He's like, absolutely not. It's not okay.
Yep. Yeah.
Like, that's fucking weird. And that was when I was like, I don't think I like fraternities. Not my scene.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's this whole thing about like being like, I think it's like I think there's a certain point in Greek life that you can give your letters to somebody. Like I think like there's like a pinning or whatever. Because I know my best friend is getting married and both herself and her fiance were in Greek life. And I know her fiance's grandfather was also in the same fraternity. And so he had passed on his pin to her fiance and said, you'll give this to like when you pin your special someone, you'll use this. And so it was the same fraternity letters and he gave them to my best friend.
All of that sounds like a fucking cult.
I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know. So yeah,
enjoy it, good for them, but it's not for me.
Yeah. So we saw Derek tied up, and the fraternity brothers were like kind of punishing him. They were pouring beer down a funnel down his pants and they were writing on him and whatever. And so he gets dropped down onto stage where Sydney's like being trapped because all the props are falling. And she's like, Derek, what's up? What are you doing here? And so Mickey reveals he's the killer. And he's wicked about it, man. He's like, Derek, you were supposed to meet me at this time and I had to fly solo and whatever. And so, Sydney having some real big trust issues, as anybody fucking would, she believes that Derek was, for a brief moment, she is completely unsure if Derek was a part of it or not. And then Mickey shoots Derek and is like, boy, you need to work on your trust issues. And it's like, God, just shows don't trust a man. Don't ever trust a man. Men are lying to you all the time. Don't trust a man in general. All men are lying.
And Derek's death is very unceremonious because he just gets shot. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it's
it's abrupt. And I think that's what makes his death powerful, is because it's so abrupt, because Mick just fucking shoots him. One shot.
Yep. And it is a good gunshot scene. Mm-hmm. Like it is. Yeah. It's very believable and stuff. And this movie is graphic, it is, the brutality of the kills is much stronger. Although I don't know, the first one was really good. A lot of stabby stabs.
This movie was actually it wasn't better reviewed. It was equally well reviewed, with people who didn't necessarily like the first one liking this one more. For instance, Roger Ebert didn't really love the first one, but liked this one a lot.
Well, that's why my sister-in-law gave this to me. She's like, the first one was fine, but this one was better.
Interesting.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's why this was her favorite scary movie. She said the first one is fine, but this one is better. And I mean, I do slightly agree. Like, I do think I love the first one now. Like, don't get me wrong, but at first I didn't like the first one. And then when I watched this one, I was like, oh my God, this one kicks ass. Yeah. And then I watched the third, fourth, and fifth, was like, this series is fucking phenomenal. So I go back and watch the first. I'm like, you know what? It's not that bad. Like but it took watching the sequels to really appreciate the first one.
I said this before. Sometimes you are just not ready for a piece of art the first time that you encounter it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I can think of quite a few movies that when I first saw them, I was like, I'm not a huge fan of that. Like, I don't think I'll ever sit down and watch that again. And then by some chance, if I do watch it again, I really rethink it. I'm like, okay, that is much better than I originally remember it to be. The second time around, I've kind of understand it a little bit more and can appreciate what they're trying to do a little bit more. I can say wholeheartedly, Star Wars Episode 8, the first time I saw it, did not like it. Absolutely hated it. Super pissed off about it. Like, did not like it. And then it's just the movie I can think of that I've seen most recently that I feel this way about. But the second time that I had seen it, I saw it from a different angle and appreciated it so much more. And I was like, okay, this actually does do justice to the storyline.
It's 2/3 of a good movie.
Okay.
There's like the whole middle scene with
Junie B. Jones.
with Finn